Namaste and welcome to Yin and Restorative Yoga with some gentle movements. My name is Michelle Chua. For this practice, you want to have a plethora of props just in case. So a couple of blocks, a strap, a pillow, a blanket, and maybe even additional pillows and blankets. More options. So let's start in a comfortable seat of your choice. You might like to sit up on a folded blanket here. Take a moment to shift around so that you can evenly root through your left and right sitting bones and draw energy up the spine from the base at your pelvic floor to your crown. And then allow your shoulders to relax as you begin to let the body be still. Here's an excerpt from Hatha Yoga Pradipika. In Hatha Yoga, there is the concept of harmonizing the twofold Shaktis, or energies in man. Oh, and I have to say, this was written much earlier in time where the vocabulary is very different, so keep that in mind. Or energies in man, because they normally remain in an unbalanced and unharmonized form. Either the prana Shakti is predominant and the mental Shakti is subservient, or the mental Shakti is predominant and the prana Shakti is subservient. Remember, we've been talking a lot about prana through the chakras, so that's life force energy flowing through the different energy centers in your body. Due to this imbalance, either physical diseases occur or mental diseases manifest. When prana is subservient to mental Shakti, then people are driven to bouts of insanity. They are admitted to mental hospitals and asylums. This is because they have too much mental Shakti and too little prana Shakti to balance it. When prana Shakti is predominant and the mental Shakti is subservient, then you will find people becoming angry, quarreling, creating wars, causing murders, committing crimes, and all sorts of violent behavior. This is the effect of unbalanced prana Shakti. The concept in Hatha Yoga, if you'll remember, Ha and Tha are two bija mantras, seed sounds. Ha is pranic energy and Tha is mental energy. So Hatha is the union of the two. So the concept in Hatha Yoga is therefore to bring about a harmony between these two great forces, also known as Ida and Pingala, masculine and feminine energies. In Hatha Yoga, first of all, the purification of the whole bodily mechanism, the physical complex, takes place. Thus the asanas, all the physical postures we spend time on. You should always keep in mind that the body, the mind, and the spirit are not three, they are one. At one level of existence, you see the body. At another level, you perceive it as the mind. You should never consider spirit as different from body and body as different from spirit. They are one. So it's interesting to point out that it's at the dimension in which you are viewing or perceiving. So let's begin and spend much of our time inviting prana to flow in balance through both the mind as we steady our focus on breathing and through the physical body, remembering that they are one, all intertwined. So let's sit still and start to check in with our different layers, starting with the outermost. Sense the sensations that you're experiencing in your body right now. Start at the bottom, the parts making contact with what you're sitting on, and then move your mind's eye up slowly your body to just notice anything, tension, temperature, movement within. Thereby gathering your physical state of being as you begin your practice. Now start to zoom in like a camera lens to the sensations you can feel of the breath. Just letting the breath flow naturally, no need to change it. And thereby gathering your energetic state of being. Now bring your attention to your mind. Notice the activity of your mind right now. Is it feeling pretty steady on one thing? Is it scattered from one object to another? Is it very busy? Is it calm? All good information. We're simply observing without judging. Thereby gathering your mental and emotional state. So now, before we set our intentions, let's help to uplift our vibration a bit so that we're coming from a place of contentment rather than lack. So think of something that you're grateful for and start to stoke that feeling of gratitude. Now, the energy of gratitude, begin to narrow down one thing you'd like to focus on in your practice today. Whether it's a feeling tone that you're cultivating within you, a quality that you're embodying, or something more specific in any area of your life in which you're shifting something. Say your intention mentally and begin to feel it now happening, coming into fruition. A way to practice letting go of the ego and non-attachment is to offer up our efforts to something beyond our individual selves. So who is someone that comes to mind that you care about, or a community, or a cause? I invite you to dedicate today's practice to them. Setting our intentions and dedications, let's join our voices to create resonance as we share space in community. Chanting 3 ohms. Inhale deeply. Slowing your breath down, let's begin the practice of Ujjayi Pranayama, a way to invite balance in mind and body in your nervous system. Closing your lips, softly narrow the back of your throat. Create a gentle whispering sound as you sustain your breath evenly in and out through your nose. Take your time. So breathe in and invite your entire rib cage to gently expand. Fill up the belly with the breath too. And then listen to the exhale. Let it sound like soft ocean waves emptying to the bottom. And just like that, continue to create this rhythm that you can hear in your breath. Let's come on down to our backs. As I mentioned before we started the recording, that we're going to focus quite a bit on the psoas today, releasing the area. And the psoas is a really deep muscle that spans across beneath the digestive organs, crisscrossing to the front of the hips, into the lower back, affecting the glutes, connected to the diaphragm. So the breath is affected when it's tense as well. It's often called your fight or flight muscle. It's the one used to contract to go into a fetal position when in fear. So let's bring some relief to that region. And we also had requests to focus on the shoulders. So start on your back, bend your knees, and step your feet apart wider than your hips distance. Separate your knees as wide apart as your feet. And you may like to open the arms apart so that you can feel grounded, but relax the shoulders away from the neck. Listen to the breath on your next inhale. Drop both knees slowly to the right, where the legs do not touch each other. And then exhale slowly to the left. So we're windshield wiping the legs. Continue at your own pace of breaths, really slow. Feel how the weight transfers across each part of your glute and glutes. Deep inhalation, take the full span of that sound. Long exhalation, matching in length. Take a couple more cycles of breath on your own here as I start the music.
I wanna be free, so free, like a feather blowing through the breeze, like a bird.
The next time you drop your knees to the right, let them settle in there and be still. Align your left knee to trace the midline of your mat. Now observe any sensations happening specifically at the front of your left hip and across to the left side of your lower back. If there's not much happening yet, you could place your right ankle above your left knee onto your left thigh, encouraging a little more opening there. And to affect the upper part of the psoas, you could also raise your arms overhead and catch hold of opposite elbows, dropping the arms back. So we'll be here for about 8 more slow breaths. Take your time. Yin yoga is much a practice of slowing down and inviting stillness, whereas restorative yoga is much about stillness and surrendering effort.
Except inside your heart and be just who you are. Pachamama, home to the place where I belong. Pachamama, home to the place where I belong. Pachamama, coming home to the place where I belong. Pachamama,
About 2 more slow breaths here.
coming home to the place where I belong.
When you reach the bottom of this exhalation, then gently unwind the legs back to center where the feet again are wider than hips distance apart and the knees are equally distanced. Then gently drop both knees to your left. Again, the legs do not touch each other when they land. Point your right knee down the center line of your mat. Pause here and observe the sensations you're experiencing around the front of your right hip and to the back, the right side of your lower back. Notice if it might be different, because definitely these postures can reveal imbalances in our bodies. If you're already feeling a deep stretch happening, just leave it alone. Stay here with the legs. Otherwise, you might place your left ankle above your right knee onto your right thigh. If your left knee feels tender or sensitive, you could flex your left foot as you do that, as well as with the right foot. Now, if you did so on the first side, raise the arms overhead, but this time take hold of the other elbow on top. Tuning into your breathing. Let's observe whatever sensations might be shifting, coming, or going, especially around the right side of your pelvis for the next 8 breaths. You might find that the pelvis and the jaw are very related to each other. So observe the muscles along your jaw here as we're working with the pelvis. Can you relax behind your ears, down your chin, softening your tongue too. Couple last breaths. When you finish this exhalation, gently uncross your legs, lift your knees up, and step your feet about hips width apart, parallel to each other. In fact, let's go ahead and grab a block here. This might change the distance of your feet. Take the skinniest width of one block and firm it between your knees and thighs. So now separate your feet as wide apart as your knees and make sure they're parallel to each other. Bringing the arms really close to your side ribs. Find your heels with your fingertips. Walk your feet back just the amount where you could almost touch your heels, but not quite that close. Ground the backs of your shoulders. Tilt your chin slightly away from your chest. We're going to practice bridge pose quite differently than we often do in our different Hatha yoga classes. This one is going to be geared towards lengthening the lower back and helping to release tension in it. So listen carefully. Imagine as your feet are on the ground still that you are dragging them back towards your glutes. Don't visibly move your feet. Make it an isometric action of dragging the heels back. And then as you breathe in, keep the pelvis on the floor and start to point your tailbone upwards. So the pelvis remains on the ground as you tilt the pelvis back. So the tailbone points up towards the block. And now imagine there's a string pulling the tailbone towards the space between your knees. We're not going for height. We're going for lengthening forward. So start to draw the tailbone forward as you lift the pelvis, maybe just about halfway of your usual range, if there's a usual range. And then pause there. Continue to isometrically drag the heels back as you stretch the fronts of your thigh bones forward. While hugging the block, keep breathing here, spiral your inner thighs down towards the ground without changing the orientation of your feet. So we're doing this just at the hip sockets. Let's stay another 3 breaths here, still grounding the backs of your shoulders, spreading your weight throughout the 4 corners of each foot and keeping your throat open. Now on your next exhalation, very slowly articulate, releasing each vertebra at a time from the upper back and eventually to the tailbone. Notice how that involves contracting the abdomen a bit so that you're really taking your time and doing it with control and intention. All right, we're gonna do this twice more, slowly and just like that. So take a full breath, relax for a moment, pelvis on the ground, let it go. Keep the breath going, ujjayi. Isometrically drag your feet back. Keep your pelvis heavy on the floor. And inhaling, begin to point your tailbone upwards towards the block. Exhaling, stretch the tailbone towards between the knees and begin to lift the pelvis just about halfway to your peak range. Pausing there. Stay for 3 breaths, isometrically dragging the feet back as you lengthen the fronts of your thigh bones forward. while rotating your inner thighs slightly downward. Keep the feet parallel. Chin tilted back to open the throat. Broaden your collarbones with your breaths. Spread your toes and balance the weight throughout the four corners of each foot. When you finish the third exhale, take your time on the next breath to articulate, kissing the ground one vertebra at a time, tailbone last. When you completely land the pelvis, relax there for one slow cycle of breath. Soften the jaw, relax the eyes in between them. Prepare for the last round. Feet still, isometrically drag them towards the glutes. Keep the pelvis on the floor, breathe in and point your tailbone upwards. Breathe out and pull the tailbone forward towards the block. Lifting the pelvis, half your range up. Pause and breathe there. Ground the backs of the shoulders, tilt the chin back slightly. Spread the collarbones wide. Stay for about 3 full cycles of breath before you lower on the fourth breath. Stretch the fronts of your thighs forward. Spiral your inner thighs towards the ground slightly. Spread your weight evenly through the four corners of each foot. When you're ready to come down, very slowly with control, lower one vertebra at a time, or imagine doing so. And when you eventually arrive to the ground, put the block aside, draw your knees apart into happy baby pose. Let's counter that hugging the midline action with splaying the thighs apart. You might even choose to rock side to side like I'm doing here, giving your lower back a massage against the ground. But try to keep pressing the back of your tailbone downward so it's not tilted upward. Keep the shoulders on the floor as well. And as you splay the feet wide, draw your knees downward. A few more breaths here. Slide your left leg to the floor flat and bend your right knee into your chest. Now, as you interlace your fingers either behind your right thigh or in front of your right shin, whatever allows your shoulders to stay on the ground, press against your hands with your leg. So we're not trying to hug the thigh as close to you as possible. You want some resistance. You're pressing against the hands and the hands are pulling the leg at the same time while you keep your head and shoulders down. Now flex your left foot and press the left heel into the earth. Press the instep of your left foot forward to prevent turning out the left thigh at the hip. Keep it neutral. Notice if your right outer hip is hiking up towards your right armpit. You can take your right thumb, if so, and hook the crease of your right outer hip, pressing it towards the front edge of your mat to equally lengthen the left and the right sides of your torso. Once you have that, you can replace the hands on your shin or thigh and keep pressing against your hands with your leg. 3 more breaths here. So this resistance that we're creating is actually helping to give some release to the left side of your hip flexor here. As you're pressing the instep of your left foot forward and grounding the back of the left thigh. 1 more full breath. Now slide your right arm out to the right, grounding the right shoulder. You might even look past it. Cross your right thigh over you for a spinal twist. You can relax your feet if you're flexing them. As you press your right shoulder into the earth, You might experiment with placing your left palm onto your right outer hip, giving this twist a little more juice or release in the lower back. As you breathe out, press away your right outer hip so that it slightly tilts towards the front edge of your mat. Let's try that for 5 more deep breaths here. Inhaling deeply. Imagine lengthening through both ends of your spine. Exhaling slowly, pressing the right outer hip forward, rounding the right shoulder. Feel into your jaw, keep relaxing the jaw. One more releasing breath for the lower back here. And then rolling onto your back, slide your right leg on the floor, point your toes to counter the flexing feet, and reach your arms overhead. Maybe even interlace the fingers and flip the palms inside out. Get really long through both ends of your body. Inhale through the nose, fill up the rib cage and belly. This time, open the mouth wide and release any sound, lion's breath. Draw your left bent knee into your chest. Interlace your fingers around your left thigh or shin. Flex your right foot and press the right heel into the ground. Press the back of your right thigh into the ground. If it's not touching the ground, then move your left leg further away from your belly. Maybe you hold the thigh instead of the shin. Keep your shoulders rooted, and now create some resistance as your left leg kicks into your hands. Pull your left leg towards you with your hands. And as you create that resistance, pressing the back of the right thigh on the floor and pressing the instep of your right flexed foot forward. Listen to your breath here. If you notice your left hip hiking up closer to your left armpit, you could use your left thumb and hook the outer crease of your left hip and press it away from the armpit to help lengthen the left side of your torso. Last 3 breaths here. Now let's prepare for a twist. Open the left arm out to the left, ground that shoulder, maybe look towards it, and start to cross your left thigh over your body to the right side. Keep pressing your left shoulder into the floor. And if you're needing a little more juice to release the lower back, place your right palm on your left outer hip. Inhale fully and lengthen through the top and bottom of your spine. As you exhale deeply, press away your left outer hip so that it tilts slightly towards the front edge of your mat. Keep doing that for about 5 more breaths here. And when you're finished with that, Draw your bent knees together into your chest as you line your back, and this time begin to rock and roll forward and back several times, massaging up and down your back. You might even roll back towards plow and sit upright, going that full range. Maybe about 3 more rock and rolls. Then eventually come to sit so that you can stand on your hands and knees, tabletop pose. Beginning to flex and extend the spine, but notice how your pelvis tilts, right? Remember, it's a bowl shape, like one of these things. And so here's the tabletop position. So as you breathe in to cat or to cow, the pelvis tilts forward as you're lifting the chest. And as you breathe out to cat, the pelvis tilts back. Feel that. Here we go. Inhale, glide your chest through your upper arms. And as you're lifting the chest, rolling the shoulders back, notice how the pelvis tilts forward. Exhale, contract your abdomen. And as you slowly drop your head, spreading the shoulder blades apart, notice how the pelvis tilts back. Inhale, lead with your sternum, draw the heart forward, then roll the shoulders back. Tailbone lifts up. Exhale, lead with your abdomen, contracting, dropping the head and tucking the tailbone simultaneously. Keep going another 3 to 5 cycles of cat-cow on your own. Italasana. This is one of the movements when paired with mindful breathing as we're doing, that is known to help tone the vagus nerve, which in turn activates the parasympathetic or the relaxation response of your nervous system, countering the fight or flight, freeze or collapse reaction when stress happens. Now, when you finish your next exhalation, tucking your toes, lift your hips into downward facing dog and spend the first 5 or so breaths slowly pedaling your feet in place. Take your time, really press the heel of the standing leg down, and draw that hip further back. Feel the length of the side of your torso. As you press the opposite heel down, press the outer hip of the straight leg back, feel the length of that side of your torso. All the while, as you spread your weight through your fingertips, relax your neck. Rebound a lift up of the shoulder blades away from the neck. And maybe add slowly shaking your head, nodding your head, or any kind of movement to loosen the neck. Even fluttering the lips, because that is connected to that neck area, your jaw. And let's hold still in downward dog for the next 5 breaths. Spread your weight through the finger pads, the base of the thumbs and index, like you're pushing the mat away from your feet and down into the earth. Lift your hips as high as possible. It might entail bending the knees, and press the very top fronts of your thigh bones towards the back wall, while sinking your heels deeper and deeper towards the ground, even if they don't touch it. Feel your front ribs. If they're protruding, seal them towards the back of your body, and keep sending the shoulders away from the neck. Listen to 2 more breaths here. Roll your triceps towards the floor, spreading the shoulder blades wider across the back ribs. After you empty this breath, walk up to the front of your mat, entering a standing forward fold with feet at least hips distance apart, maybe wider. Parallel your second toes to each other. Bend your knees generously so that you're able to reach the hands behind your lower back and interlace them or hold a strap between. Tilt your weight forward, and as you activate your abdomen, breathe in and lift your chest, towards your front wall, lengthening your back parallel to the floor. Exhale, bow towards your right leg as you straighten it, bending the left knee generously. Stay and breathe here. Drop the head, stretch the arms away from the back, bend the elbows slightly, and lift the shoulders away from the neck. One more breath. Now switch the interlacing of your thumb and index on top and bend your right knee generously. Straighten the left leg and lean your torso to the outside of the left leg. Tilt your weight forward. Let the head fall. Deep breaths. Arms reaching forward, shoulders rising, crown falling. Come back through center with both knees generously bent and let your arms fall. Let your head fall. With knees very bent, begin to roll your spine slowly upright. Breathing in, imagine stacking one vertebra at a time, lifting your head last. When you rise all the way up, let's take a moment to release the shoulders. As you breathe in, shrug your shoulders forward and up. Make any sound as you open the mouth to exhale. Drop the shoulders back and down. 3 more. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Last one. Inhale, sweep your arms forward. Peel the upper arms behind your ears, but seal your front ribs in. Drop the tailbone towards the inner heels and lift the crown. Look up. Join your hands at your hearts. A slow sun salutation. Inhale, sweep the arms forward again. Create that gentle back bend without losing length in the lower back. Exhale, bend your knees and bow over your legs. Plant your fingertips on blocks or the floor, framing your heels. Inhale, step your left knee behind you and look up, kneeling lunge. Holding your breath, step into your version of plank pose. As you exhale, lower your knees, then your chest, then your chin. As you inhale, slither your belly to the ground. Press the tops of your feet down. Inhale to a light cobra. Exhale, tuck your toes and press up to downward facing dog. Inhale, step your left foot beside your left thumb, lower your back knee and look up. Exhale, step your right foot forward and bow. Inhale, sweep your arms overhead, coil your chest up. Exhale, marry your palms at your heart. Second side, one more. Inhale, arms overhead in Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, bow in Uttanasana. Plant your fingertips. Inhale, step your right knee back to Anjaneyasana, gaze up. Hold your breath, step into plank. Exhale, lower your knees, chest, then chin, Ashtangasana. This is a back bend. Inhale, slither to the ground in Bhujangasana, Cobra, another back bend. Exhale, lift your pelvis back to downward, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Inhale, step your right foot beside your right thumb, lower your back knee, Anjaneyasana. Exhale, step your left foot forward, Uttanasana. Inhale, sweep your arms overhead in Urdhva Hastasana. This time, stand up tall and take hold of your left wrist with the right hand. Press down to the left foot and start to side bend to the right for a few breaths. Now pay attention to your lower back here. Instead of sticking the tailbone further behind you, draw the tailbone down towards your inner right heel and open up space across your lowest back ribs around the area of your kidneys. Breathe into that area. Lengthen your neck by sliding the shoulders down the back. Two more breaths here. Keep rooting down through the left foot. We're all also touching on the psoas here. Contracting your lower abdomen. With your next inhale, slowly rise to center. Then take hold of your right wrist with your left hand. Plug the shoulders in their sockets. Stand up tall with the front ribs sealing in. Root your right foot into the ground and begin to side bend to the left, mindful not to oversway or arch the lower back. Instead, direct your tailbone downward towards your inner left heel. Create space across your lowest back ribs. Breathe into the area of your kidneys. Keep sliding the shoulders down the back. About 3 more breaths here. Contract your lower abdomen and inhale, rise up. And release the arms. So let's step the feet wide apart. We're gonna come into a wide-legged forward fold this time. You may like to have 2 blocks in front of you so that your hands can lower onto them instead of the floor. See that your feet are parallel to each other. Place your hands on your hips. Then rotate your shoulders behind you and inhale, lift your chest. Hug in the front ribs again. And from your hips, exhale, begin to hinge forward, stretching your spine like you're growing it with each in-breath. Allow your pelvis to shift forward where you can align your hips with your ankles. Then lower your hands on the blocks or the ground and press into that as you draw your heart forward, sliding the shoulders back. Make sure that your weight is not sitting at the back edges of your heels, which can stress out the hamstrings. If your back is starting to round, instead, bend your knees as much as you need to create more of a flat back. If possible, walk your hands further back and lower the crown of your head towards the ground, using your hands to press downward so that you can rebound a lift upward of your shoulders, inviting more space in your neck. So here is a cooling way to enter an inversion, stimulating circulation. Forward folds like this are a yin part of the practice, helping us to tune inward, literally as we fold into ourselves. Last 2 breaths in Prasarita Padottanasana. Start to walk your hands forward, lengthen the spine parallel to the floor, and slide the shoulders back. Bend your knees generously and place your hands on your hips, pointing your elbows towards the sky. Firming in the belly, inhale, lead with your chest to slowly rise. Let's make our way into Supta Virasana. A little more focus on the fronts of your psoas. So notice what version of Virasana, hero's pose, your body welcomes today. If your knees are feeling sensitive, you could take a folded blanket. The thicker the fold, the more support you're offering your knees. And place it, make sure it's folded smoothly. And place it right up against the backs of your knees, like this. When I had my knee surgery and was still recovering, unable to bend the knees quite a bit, this was really helpful. You can make this as thick as you need. If your knees are not that sensitive, but you would like some support, you can place a block between your ankles to sit on. If you're already sitting on your calves and that feels fine, you might consider drawing the calves back and sitting on the floor right between the ankles. Now, to support the alignment of your knees, keep your knees no wider apart than your hips distance. Keep them on the ground and try to feel that all of your toenails are pressing into the ground. The feet are not turned out nor are they turned in. Now, to whatever degree is available, start to lean back slowly with deep breaths to calm your nervous system and help your body surrender into opening. And the further you lean back, imagine that your tailbone is stretching forward towards the space between your knees. And this is to prevent overarching the lower back, which can get vulnerable in this position. You might place your forearms on blocks or your hands on the floor behind you. You might put a stack of pillows behind you to recline on. You might eventually lie flat on the floor. But again, listen to the sensations in your body as you're moving along. Let them guide you within the parameters. Feel your front ribs and make sure they're not popping up towards the sky. Seal them inward towards the back, which helps to also prevent overarching the lower back and compressing it. Check in with your knees again. Make sure they haven't splayed apart, wider than your hips distance. You might also raise the arms overhead like we did in the very beginning, holding opposite elbows. Focus on full inhalations. Remember, your psoas are connected to your diaphragm, which moves to the breath. At least 7 more breaths here. Make sure that you are in a depth of the pose in which you can sustain balanced breathing. Feel the release of your exhalations and how your exhalations affect release in the body. Use the power of your breathing. Now, taking your time to come out slowly, press your hands to the ground beside you. Lifting your spine, allow a few breaths to completely rise. Let's end up on hands and knees again, all fours. Setting your wrists beneath your shoulders as you spread the fingers apart. Setting your knees under your hips. Straighten your right leg behind you and tuck the toes on the ground. Then cross the right foot to the left side of your left foot, maybe outside of your mat. Look behind your left shoulder and press your right heel back towards that back left corner of the room. Lift the navel, send the shoulders down the back. A couple more breaths. Notice if the left hip is hiking up towards the left shoulder, draw the left hip towards the back of the room too. Set your right knee down and tuck your left toes behind you, straightening the left leg. Cross your left foot to the right side of your right foot, maybe on the right side of the mat. Press away your left heel and look over your right shoulder towards it. Lift the sides of your waist so the belly is not dumping down. And then relax the shoulders as you breathe. Notice how breathing into a particular sensation or area of the body can shift how energy moves through your body in the pose. Come back to hands and knees and bring your legs in front of you to sit. Let's set up for a supported fish pose, giving more attention to releasing the fronts of the shoulders. And we'll end up there in Shavasana. But I'll let you know when 3 minutes is up in this pose. And for the remainder, if you choose to come all the way to the ground for Shavasana and want to splay out everything, you can do that. So set up one block at its highest height at the rear end of your mat to support your skull. Place the second block medium height across the mat or tracing the midline of your mat. You can lie back and see how it feels, which one you prefer. If across the mat, you're going to land the area that's right underneath the bottom tips of your shoulder blades onto that lower block so that your pelvis remains on the ground as you drop the shoulders into the space between the blocks, encouraging a lift in the chest. And make sure that your shoulders feel symmetrical on the left and right sides. Your legs can splay out, feet wide apart. If your lower back needs additional support, you could take your rolled up blanket or a pillow and place it across the backs of your knees. That can relieve tightness in the lower back. And then make sure that there's a natural space and curvature in your neck. The highest block, or you could place it on the medium height if you prefer more lift in the chest, is right under your skull. Rotate your shoulders back and turn your palms to face up, resting your arms beside your thighs. Closing your eyes, imagine that you could inhale and fill up your entire body to the ends of your feet, fingertips, crown. Then hold the breath in for a few seconds before slowly releasing it through your mouth, allowing the bones in your body to sink with the weight of gravity. Try that a couple more times. Whole body inhalations, holding the breath, then emptying it through the mouth. When you finish the last round, consciously let go of regulating your breathing. Invite a feeling of trust as you observe the breath being received by your body and then releasing on its own. Three minutes has passed, and if you'd like to stay in this position for Shavasana, then don't move. If you'd like to come all the way to the ground, move very gently. Try not to lift the head abruptly. And with eyes closed, body still, breath relaxed, allow yourself these moments of open awareness in Shavasana. Resting where you are a little longer and keeping your eyes closed. I invite you to scan your body again in your mind's eye and notice how it feels now. Sensing how your body is ready to begin moving. Ease into small movements, graduating to larger ones, eventually turning over onto your right side and resting your head for a moment. As you're lying on your side, notice the way your body is breathing on its own and sense the way you feel energetically. Be gentle with yourself as you lift your body up. Find a way to sit for 5 minutes in meditation. Position your body where you can feel grounded, alert, open, and at ease. Position your hands in a mudra that invites the feeling of your intention. Upliftment, palms face up in chin mudra, thumb and index fingers touching. Grounding, Gyan mudra, same shape, palms face down. And if it makes sense to you, close your eyes or steady a soft gaze on one spot. Let's begin. 5 minutes. As you let the body breathe on its own, rest your awareness gently on the sensations of the breath. Sense the way the breath bridges your mind and body, offering the feeling of union. Remember that where your attention goes, your energy flows. Notice your attention goes into the mind and follows thoughts. Notice if your attention goes into the body. Create a balance and come back to the breath. And if you've noticed your attention go astray, there's your window to come back. Tune into how you're feeling in your mind and emotions now. Sensing the effects of your yoga practice today. Call to mind something you're now grateful for. And mentally or out loud, restate your intention for this practice. Remember to whom or what you dedicated this practice. And maybe picture them receiving benefit from your efforts. Let's close together, joining in 3 ohms, honoring the silence at the end of each. Inhale deeply. Bow in, honoring the light within you. The light in me bows to the light in you. Namaste.